Evening, everybody, and welcome to our second sort of live sort of recruitment event this evening. We'll get everybody to introduce themselves in a second, but first of all, my name is Mark Callum, Assistant Chief Constable, Dorset Police. Tonight's focus is going to be very much on those who are perhaps in the military or ex-military are thinking of joining policing and transferees. But if there's people on the calls where they're none of those, but feel free, still put your questions in, and we'll try and answer as many questions as we can tonight from that perspective. So if you've got questions, pop them in the chat, and then we can pick those up as we go through. So from my perspective, I joined policing 26 years ago now. I left school, didn't complete my A-levels, took a vocational qualification up, and then joined Greater Manchester Police. And I transferred to Dorset in around 2006. My experience from me, I've worked my way from being a constable on the streets up to the assistant chief constable rank, and I've worked as a frontline response officer, worked in neighbourhood policing teams, and also accredited detective as well. Working in CID, intelligence, covert policing, and a variety of jobs. And policing is, every day is different, and it is a job like no other. But it's a great job, and it's a great job helping people, and that reward you get from helping people, often in their most difficult places, and great camaraderie in terms of a family approach, with great friends in the organisation as well, all looking after one another through some often difficult times. I've had a variety of roles in command roles, still been involved in public order, public safety, so riot policing for sort of using a local colloquial term, through all of my career, and also firearms command as well from that perspective. My point of telling you that isn't to sort of say, oh, look at me, I've done all these things. It's really to demonstrate to people that actually policing has so much to offer. It's more than working in neighbourhoods, CID, response training. It gives you opportunities to do different things, and I'm really diversified, either going laterally or even going up in the ranks as well. So I just, and we'll hear in a second from other people about their stories of where they're at, which will hopefully give you a bit of a flavour of some of the opportunities in policing as well. So I'm going to introduce everybody, get everybody just to have a quick few minutes just explaining their journey and what their roles are. So first of all tonight, if PC Barker, shall I bring you in just so you can give yourself a quick intro? Well, you might be on mute there. Just put yourself off mute. That's great.
Apologies,
Thanks.
there we are. I'm Peter Barker. I'm currently working in Boscombe Response here. I transferred in from West Midlands Police. That's where I joined. I was on the DHEP programme. So joined West Midlands, did my 2-year probation, where I was then posted to a neighbourhood team for approximately a year. And then I joined the firearms department there. Later on in the year, my family moved down Dorset Way quite early on. So when I saw an opportunity and I was able to, I saw the advertisements for ARV transfers down to Dorset. So I jumped at the chance to come and move down to a much nicer place than where I was working in West Midlands, and joined Dorset Police. And I've been down here since March now, and been enjoying the difference in my days off down here.
Great, thanks. ARV, that's armed response vehicles, isn't it? So you came down you transferred us onto the armed response vehicles, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Great, excellent, thanks. If I bring in PC Claxton next.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, I'm PC Dan Claxton. I'm ex-military. I spent 23 years in the military, but prior to that, I'm Dorset born and raised. Joined the Air Force at 17 because I absolutely detested academics. Dropped out of my A levels because I just wasn't getting on with them and wanted a challenge. So joined the Air Force, saw the world, and in that 23 years, I had attachments to the Army, the Royal Navy. So do have a flavour of what it's like for military leavers that do want to join the programme. And then decided to do my academics and actually get a degree while I was in the military, and have now joined Dorset Police in March this year as a degree holder entry programme on the DC route. Graduated from training in September, and I'm now on the volume crime team, which is the easiest way to describe it is lots of it, but not very complicated. So things like theft, assaults, all the way from common assault to actual bodily harm, vehicle theft, domestic abuse cases, and malicious content. And I've been doing that for the last 3 months, and it's been absolutely brilliant.
Great, thanks. So if you sat there as a potentially in the military, or you know someone in the military, got some questions, pop them in the chat. We can then hopefully Dan can help with his experience as well of transferring across from military to police. So thanks. Right, so should we go to Clara next?
Yes, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Clara Sutter-Court, and I am a Positive Action Officer. My team, we are supporting individuals who are currently underrepresented in the police, and we start the support from the application process up until the interview. It is like a one-to-one mentoring program. It's very useful because when you start your application, you might find that the amount of information you have to go through can be too much sometimes or intimidating, and that's what we do with our support officers. We break down the information and then we offer the help on a step-by-step basis for every stage of the recruitment process. So this is what I do, and happy to be here.
Great, thanks, Clara. Thanks for your time tonight. And then I'll come over to Rachel. And Rachel, if you want to introduce yourself, and maybe if you just give us a bit of a précis as well of some of the entry routes, just to help.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. So my name is Rachel Towers. I'm one of the senior resourcing officers. I work mostly on the uniformed portfolio. So that's our police officer, new recruits, transferees, PCSOs, that sort of thing. I've been in the force for 12 years now. I started off as an apprentice and I've been in recruitment the entire time. Recently achieved my CIPD level 5. So yeah, brilliant opportunities within the force. So just moving on then briefly to sort of what we're here to talk about this evening. So we do now have 4 entry routes in order to join as a police constable. So that's for our new recruit police constables. So we have the police constable degree apprenticeship. As you'll probably hear throughout the event, we love an acronym. So that's also referred to as PCDA. That is the entry route where you gain a degree throughout your training. Then you have the degree holder entry program, which is DHEP, also available as the detective route, so that's DHEP DC. And with that one, you gain a diploma to be attached to your existing degree. Our third entry route is our professional policing degree, or referred to as PPD. So these are for the individuals who have already obtained that degree at university. And then you come along to us and do a 2-year training program. And then finally, we have our police constable entry program or detective constable entry program. So that's probably one that we're going to talk about a little bit more this evening. You do still gain a diploma during your training. However, we do accept military experience instead of any formal qualification as part of the eligibility. So a really brilliant entry route for those military leavers among us. As Mark's already mentioned, we will be talking about transferees here this evening as well. So that's another area of the recruitment that I work on. And we do also have a relocation package available for transferees from other Home Office forces coming in to Dorset.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. I'm sure we might talk a little bit more about some of those entries, some of the questions that come up as we step forward with them. But so let's get into the questions then, shall we? So can we have the first question? Okay, so Ian Watson says, are there any similarities between the police and the military? I left the military a year ago after nearly 10 years. I have my interview at the end of the month. So PC Claxton, probably a good one to come for you first on this one, for your experience.
Hi, Ian. So in short, yes, there are lots of similarities between the police and the military, the structure, the discipline, and the commitment. One of the things I noticed in service was everyone's desire to serve. That's a theme across Dorset Police, that every officer wants to serve. And I think one of the biggest similarities is the support that you get. I've probably noticed it more in the police than in the military. The support you get from your peers, from your sergeants and your inspectors is absolutely phenomenal. So organizational wise, yeah, it's an organization the same as the military, so that's similar. The support that you get again is similar. the drive and determination and the mindset of the people is also a brilliant draw for anyone that's in the ex-military. It's almost like a home from home. So yeah, there are lots of similarities, and I found it absolutely brilliant since joining.
Great, thanks for that. And Ian, if you do apply, we've also got a system of buddies. I don't know, Rachel, whether you want to just talk a little bit about that so people are aware of sort of the buddy system.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, we have some of our serving officers within the force who have sort of put themselves forward to accompany people throughout the process. As Clara's already touched on, it can be quite a lengthy process and quite a lot of information. So it's just someone to be on hand, sort of help support you through that, and also answer any questions that you may have about what they're doing, where they serve, that sort of thing. You will be matched up with someone who is already in a role similar to what you're interested in. So, for example, if you're interested in a detective route or a detective transferee, you'll be paired up with sort of a detective in force, and same with various other roles. So yeah, it's a really brilliant scheme that we've got, and is something that you can put yourself forward for as part of your application to support you through the process.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm really appreciative of those officers who have stepped forward as buddies on top of their day job. They've volunteered to be part of that buddy system, so we can help people going through that process as we go through. So we're really grateful to our teams for doing that. Let's go for the next question, please. So, Vicky Louise, my son is in his second year at college doing the level 3 in UPS. He finishes in June 26. Can he apply for an apprenticeship now, or does he have to wait until he passed in June 2026? Rachel, that's definitely one for you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Vicky, so he absolutely can. What we say to our individuals, because of the length of the recruitment process, we can say that if they are due to obtain their qualification in the next 6 months, then they can start their application process now. They can get that ball rolling, get the forms completed, and start that selection process. They will be asked as part of the application form to upload their proof of qualifications. So in place of that, we would just ask that they upload any proof of their study. So that could be sort of predicted results, a headed letter from their learning provider or something similar. It just makes sure that when my team go through and double check their application, they're not going to be told they're not eligible, because it just proves that they're going to be completing that qualification in the next 6 months. So yeah, absolutely pop an application in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Yeah. So, the clear advice: get your son filling that form in, and if there's any questions that your son's got or anything, we're always willing to engage people to answer questions. Etc. There's a lot of information on our websites, isn't there, Rachel? But if you've got any other questions, get in touch with us. We want to help people who want to come in. It's great he's doing that course as well to get him geared up, ready for public service, which is fantastic. Next question, please. Okay, so Pablo Blanco, good evening. I have a few questions regarding the PSET program and direct transfer. I'm currently serving as a police constable in the non-home office force, and I've been in this role for 20 months. Prior to this, I served within the FCC, so that's a Force Command Centre. I'm assuming that's for Dorset Police, so the Force Command Centre, Dorset Police, for 7 years. I also have 7 years experience within Dorset Police Special Constabulary. My questions are: would I need to provide a training record if I was to direct transfer? And also, what records would be beneficial? Alternatively, would I be better? And I think we've lost a bit of it there. So if there's a bit more question there, we'll get that up in a second. But Rachel, do you want to have a stab at that one for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've obviously touched on our home office transferees. We do have a process for non-home office transferees as well. So that does sit under a separate advert, but that's just so that we can make sure that we're linking in with you and sort of drawing on that experience that you may have already obtained. It may be that if you're successful at the selection process, we request a copy of your training record if you have it, just to see if there's any transferable skills that the learning and development team can carry across. It would be likely that you would go onto the PSEP route in terms of training, but it might be that your selection process looks slightly differently. But we do have a look at those on a case-by-case basis, Pablo. So what I would say is, it looks like we lost a little bit of your query. So if we haven't got that in the chat, do pop us an email, or if you've already put an application in, one of the team will make a note of your name, and we'll have a look at that and come back to you on that one, and we could potentially have a bit more of an in-depth conversation one-on-one with you, just sort of cover off any questions that you may have.
Great, thanks. And what's the best way for Pablo to get in touch to have that conversation, Rachel, with us?
Best case would be email in the first instance, and it just detail all those questions that you've got on there, and then I can direct the best member of my team to help you, because it may be that actually you require a supervisor potentially to talk it through with you if they're a bit more of a complex question. We do have our number on the Force website, and we're option 1 on that, but you will potentially get a mixed bag. So you might get someone who deals with police community support officers who might not be able to help you straight away, but they will absolutely pass your message on and get the right person to call you back. So yeah, pop us an email in the first instance and your availability for a call, and we'll give you a call back.
Great, thanks. And Pablo, get that email written for us, and we can help you answer those questions as soon as we can as well. We're really supportive. You sound like you've got a huge amount of experience there, Pablo. That would be really interesting and understand how we can help you take the next steps, potentially to get into the force. So yeah, look forward to that coming in. Great, let's go for the next question. So Paul Holmes, what are the upper age limits for ex-military? Rachel, it's another for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we don't have an upper age limit for police constable applications at the moment. Obviously, there are a number of selection processes to go through, and then some prerequisites, which include sort of vetting, medical, that sort of thing, and successful completion of all of those will get you your offer. But at the moment, there's no upper age limit.
Excellent. Great. And is it worth, I don't know, maybe just look at maybe PC Barker, PC Claxton, just in terms of that, if there are people who are maybe a little bit older thinking of joining, just maybe explain, I'll come to PC Barker first, just about the fitness test and things like that, and what's expected.
Yeah, so the fitness test just for standard PC is 5.4 on a bleep. It's very achievable. It's not too taxing. Obviously, I'd implore anyone who's thinking of joining to sort of do a bit of training before, because once you get into role and you start working on these sort of personal safety training elements, there is obviously a physical demand with this job. So it's something that you just need to sort of keep on top of, but it's certainly achievable for anyone. I've certainly worked with guys, certainly in West Midlands, some ex-military leavers who joined the firearms department, sort of 50 plus, who see for that department you need to pass a 9.4 on a bleep test. So again, it's achievable for them. So I would say age isn't really a factor in that regard.
Yeah, and if anybody's worried about sort of the bleep test and things like that, Rachel, can we just explain what type of things we do for people who might be worried about that in terms of support around things?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so the bleep test is a 15-meter shuttle, and it's up to level 5.4 for police officer new recruits. We do have a document on our Force website that can help you prepare for that. There's an app you can download to practice, and it is, if I'm being honest, the turning that tends to catch people out at the end of each lane, rather than the actual level of running itself. We also have a video in the works as well, which will be shared soon on the Force website and on our YouTube channels and such. So yeah, lots of support and lots of information out there on it. So lots of things that you can do. And once again, if you do have any issues or something's not clear for you, do reach out to us, and we can pop you in touch with a fitness lead who will be able to support you with that.
Excellent, thanks. And we have, to give people reassurance who might be listening out there, we have a range of, recruits coming through at different age ranges. Some it's a second career. Some are coming in at sort of 18, 19, 20. It's a big variety. And actually, that's what's really good about policing, because it's representative of our communities and representative of having that different experience and life experience when you're talking to people, engaging with the public through the incidents that we're attending. Yeah, any questions on that, just put them in the comments box or have a look at our website. Great, next question, please. So Megan Gross, I have 6 points on my license, 3 which have expired, are due to be removed from my license by the end of the month. Am I still eligible to apply? Rachel.
Thank you. Yes, so you absolutely can. What we just ask you to do in terms of any driving offences or similar is to make sure that you put absolutely all of the information you have within that application form for us. If anything flags up, I think it's 3 endorsable fines within the last 12 months that makes you ineligible. So yours shouldn't be a problem. But what we would do at the point of your application being submitted is we'd link in with our vetting team just to get an early heads up as to whether that would be a problem or not. From my experience, I don't anticipate it would be. But like I said, just make sure you're popping all the information on the application form, and then should you get to the stage where a vetting form is required, once again, even though you've already told us on the application form, make sure you're putting all of that information on there so that the team can make an informed decision. But from my experience, that won't be a problem for you.
Great, thanks for that. So next question, please. So Miles Pinkney, I'm a degree holder, interested in either detective or detective constable route. What are the advantages and disadvantages of both routes? How different is the detective route, and is it more advantageous to go in as a constable to gain more practical knowledge on the front line? Just looking, so in terms of the different routes, detective constable side, Rachel, we've commented on that already, but do you want to give any more context on that, and then I'll perhaps come to PC Claxton, PC Barker, any comments they want to add?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So, yeah, you're completely right. Our degree holder entry programme does have both the police constable and the detective constable route. The training looks very, very similar, and it is only really during your second year that it starts looking slightly different, and you're started to be exposed to more of an investigative side of the policing rather than response. The difference within the recruitment process is that our detectives are required to do an investigation exercise, which the police constables are not required to do. So the selection process is slightly different. We get a mixed bag. I will leave the serving officers to sort of comment on it a bit more, but it's sort of more of what your interest is and what you find more interesting, whether it's sort of that investigative side of things or the response side of things. It would definitely benefit from obtaining a buddy. We can potentially even be cheeky and ask if we can get you in contact with two, so you could get a bit of a glimpse at both sides of policing. But yeah, it's really important that you have that think before you apply, so that you're on the route that's best for you and that's going to interest you most. But from a sort of recruitment process and training perspective, then the main differences.
Great. If I bring in PC Claxton, I appreciate you're not on the detective pathway. I can cover that off in a second. But if I bring in PC Claxton first, any thoughts from you?
So yeah, I'm on the DHEP DC, so I'm on the detective constable pathway. So I'm naturally going to be biased and lean towards that. But as Rachel's already said, it is genuinely about what you find interesting and your motivations for joining the force. For me, it's about the investigations, it's about the methodical approach to policing, and ultimately on conducting that investigation, trying to get justice for the victim. So for me, it's about the investigation, it's about the methodology and your application and approach to work. But saying that, on the DHEP DC route, we do get out and about, we do kit up, we do patrol, we do everything that our PC colleagues would do normally in our first year. And as Rachel said, it's only in our second year, when we start going towards our detective exam, that it changes. But again, it's all dependent on what you're interested in. And for information, I am a police buddy for the DHEP DC route. So if anyone is interested, get in touch.
It's like a recruitment campaign. This is one for detectives, one for so PC Barker, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so to be fair, my experience obviously joining in West Mids, I think our process looked slightly different, and I think when I joined, they didn't have an established sort of detective route entry at that point. So my experience was how it worked there was we came on and did multiple rotations and attachments for 2 years. So we were kind of jumping on different teams, doing a combination of response, neighborhood, and investigation teams. So again, I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, working with a couple of shooting officers who are working through their portfolios here, but I'm not entirely sure and privy to how the Dorset sort of recruits work here.
Yeah, that's fine. So give you there's a couple of options as well, because obviously you can go through that detective option. But the other thing is you can join as a uniformed officer. So when I joined policing, and the option is still here to do that, I went into frontline policing as a response officer, and then after quite a few years, I then did the transition across. It's called ICIDP, to the investigators program, where I became a detective. So you can come in directly as a DHEP. You can go through the route as PC Claxton's talked about there, and those routes, or you can go into frontline policing, and then you can work your way across. So a bit like you might go into firearms or traffic or something like that. You can work your way into different areas. You do have to complete, everybody who comes a detective, you have to complete the National Investigators exam and a 12-month program to be an accredited detective with other skills as well. But they're both, I can honestly say, both roles are amazing. They're really good. If you're interested, one, we can do the buddy, but also through our website, you can also get look at observer shifts, where you could actually come in and you could spend a shift with a response team, for example, and you go out in a car and go to jobs to get a feel of what the job's like as well. So if you're interested in that, have a look at the website. We can point in the right direction if need be. Both roles are great, but the beauty of policing is that you've got the flexibility to move across laterally into different roles, so you don't have to stay somewhere for your whole career. And we actively encourage that in terms of building your skills up to be able to deliver the best possible service for the public. So hopefully that answers that question for you with a bit more detail. But next question, please. So Julie Rideout, keen to hear more about the experience of leaving the military to joining the police. Top tips, please. So PC Claxton.
My journey was relatively smooth. I put my application in to leave, wanted to join the police, and timed it just right. So all the assessment centres and everything was nice and lined up. Top tips: absolutely be yourself. I don't think people in the military realize the skills that they have until they leave the military, and just how well suited those skills are to the police. So just your fundamentals, such as your communication skills, your resilience, your ability just to talk to people and have a conversation, and it's handling pressurized situations. You don't understand how well trained you've been until you join the police, and then it actually is really noticeable. There was a couple of ex-military on my course, and it just shone through those skills that you bring to the police. And yeah, just be yourself and enjoy the journey. I know it can be frustrating, it does take a long time, but stick with it. Remember why you've applied, and honestly, the reward is brilliant when you join.
Great, thanks for that. So next question, please. So Aaron Lee, why is the application process so lengthy? I applied once and was rejected with no reason given. Surely an interview might be a good start as opposed to writing war and peace questions. Rachel, shall I bring you in first on that?
Yes, thank you so much. Just in answer to sort of to the first part of that question around the length of the process, it is quite a long process. There are quite a few steps. I think there's around 11 steps from sort of start to finish, but it's really, really important for us in the role that we do that we get the right people for the role. There have been some changes in the application and selection process over the last couple of years. So we did used to do an application form that had sort of key questions where you'd write lots and lots about it and they would go away to be scored. So that sounds maybe similar to something that maybe you have done in the past. That is slightly different now. So instead of that element of the selection process, we now have the behaviour styles questionnaire and the situational judgment test, which is an online interactive 2 tests that you do. So we are working really, really hard to sort of condense those timelines where we can without sort of compromising on standards. So it may be that we're running a couple of your assessments alongside, and we're looking if we can get you in sooner. We're sort of fitting in around you with interview dates now as well. We're giving you a call to see when you're available, just to try and make your life a little bit easier. We know you're all currently working, so we try to fit it in around your current employment as much as we can to avoid you having to take too much time out and keep coming out of your day role. So I hope I've answered all of that. I don't know if there was any elements I missed. Thank you. Yeah, an interview might be a good start. Absolutely would be. We get lots and lots of people apply, and the College of Policing have now initiated a national process. So the behaviour styles questionnaire and the situational judgment test that I've referred to are part of the national process, and so are the online assessment centre. So we do bring you in for a face-to-face interview, but it is after those first couple of steps before we bring you in and meet you face-to-face.
I think some of the things as well, Rachel, is that often we get people who aren't very responsive. So some of the delays are actually a result of applicants not responding quickly, or maybe not giving us that accurate detail, isn't it? That we need as well. So I think we'd encourage people to make sure you give the right detail, it's accurate, respond quickly. We are absolutely committed to getting things through the system as quick as we possibly can. But there are delays that are sometimes out of our hands. We've got to do the vetting, we need GP sort of information, don't we, from health, etc. as well. So I think we give you reassurance. We're absolutely committed to it. There are national improvements that Rachel's already talked about, but yeah, I think you'll find it's a bit slicker now. I think anything between 6 to 12 months potentially, I think, isn't it, Rachel, depending on timings?
Yeah. Similarly to what you were saying, depending on your availability as well, it can be sort of as short as 3 months. If you're super available for all your appointments and your notice period in your current employment is short, then we can sort of squeeze it into 3. But yeah, like you say, delays for various reasons can sort of stretch that out.
Yeah, and I remember going to join Greater Manchester, and I think I filled the application form in 3. I went to fill it in 3 times, and eventually on the third time I did it. So if you sat there at home thinking, do you know what, I'm not sure, etc., go for it. You've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. If you meet the criteria, you think you're going to be, be able to do the role, and you're good. And there's lots of information on the website. So try not to procrastinate. I think in this example, if you've been once, don't be downhearted with that. Go again. And give it a shot from that perspective. Next question, please. So Michael Gurney, how does the placement work if my application is successful? I will be living in Ferndown. Will I have a place close to where I live, or anywhere in Dorset? Do you want to answer that, Rachel, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I'm happy to take it unless you want to. So with regards to our postings for our new recruit officers, so our governance team do take into consideration home addresses where possible, but there is a possibility that you could be posted anywhere within Dorset. So it's sort of 6 of one, half dozen of another. So we do take into consideration your home address where we can, but operational need is also a factor in that. I don't know if there's anything in addition you want to add to that, Mark.
Yes, I think the training aspect of things is mainly at Ferndown. I think that's the sort of that case. And there's a little bit of travelling to headquarters at Winfrith near Wool. I can give you reassurance. I actually chair the meeting around the postings, and the governance team sits under my portfolio. We're not in the habit of somebody living in Christchurch and posting them out to Lyme Regis, far ends of the force. We very much do take into consideration there is an operational need, so we can't guarantee if you live in Bournemouth, you work in Bournemouth, but you're looking really sort of like the areas of Poole, Ferndown, those sorts of areas, Purbeck, etc. So we absolutely take into consideration where you're posted, travel time, understanding the costs of some of those things to people as well. And if you've got a busy family life, you need to have that balance. So can't guarantee exactly where you go to, but we work when you get in. We'll work with you to understand what your needs are as well and support that. Recognizing that response policing is 24/7 shifts as well. Great. Next question, please. Matt J, isn't modern policing just paperwork heavy now? Let me come to PC Barker first on that one.
Yeah, so hello. It is and it isn't. It's there's some paperwork which unfortunately is unavoidable in policing. Depending on the kind of job you may go out to. You may have to write sort of lengthy updates, or like I say, if you go out to quite a serious instance, for example, a nasty assault or something like that, and you have to take a statement, that is unfortunately going to be quite heavy on paperwork because you're going to have to pack a lot of detail into that. But that's all a part of the role. What I will say is policing now, with implementing modern technology, they're doing really well in trying to streamline that process as much as possible, to sort of cut down the need for lengthy write-ups on certain things, to cut down the need for an officer to stand there and handwrite documents. So there is technology being implemented constantly as we go forward in policing to really streamline that process, to try and make sure that officers are out and as much as possible, because ultimately that is where we want to be, as especially as response officers. We want to be on the streets, we want to be constantly out there going to jobs. and it can be frustrating when you get tied up, but it's one of those things where unfortunately sometimes it's necessary.
Great, thanks. And I think on that, everybody comes into Dorset Police gets issued with a laptop. All frontline officers are issued with a mobile phone to use digital databases around things. We're doing work around lots of work around automation to try and take out administrative tasks. We're even starting to work with AI as well in terms of how we can use that, so we free off to time up effectively. So, but it's undoubtedly policing is about investigating crime and ultimately putting bad people behind bars or getting people dealt with for the offences they've committed, as well as safeguarding and making sure they're vulnerable. So if you've got a vulnerable person, we've got to give that information to our partners. So it's a whole partnership approach. And if people are going to court, we've got to do the paperwork, the investigation, the statements to be able to get them before the courts as well. So like any job, there's an administration to do, admin, and of course everything we're trying to do is reduce that bureaucracy. And there's policing nationally is looking at new systems to make it like around case files going to court to try and reduce bureaucracy as well, and that's due to be launched in Dorset hopefully 26 27 in terms of that delivery. So lots going on, but don't be put off by the admin. For every bit of admin, there's a great job where you go to somebody and you touch the lives of the public when they need you the most, or you're investigating crimes. So yes, absolutely admin, but believe me, the job is great in terms of actually helping the folk when you're going to help them as well. So next question, please. Freya Skelton, if you're invited to book an appointment at an assessment centre, but all the appointments are gone, how long can you expect to wait for appointments to be added? Rachel.
So this is a really recent development which we're really, really excited about. So unfortunately, our spaces do get booked up quite quickly. So we do ask you to keep an eye on your sort of spam and your junk folders as well, just in case they do sort of get squirreled away in there. But we do now have weekly assessment centres. So previously they were monthly, but the College of Policing have now rolled out weekly assessment centres. So it really shouldn't be long, sort of a week or two if the spaces have filled up on the one that you've been invited to. If it does go on for sort of longer than that, do let us know, because it may be that there's an issue with your application or it's stuck at a status that isn't been picked up. But what we do ask that you do is, if you log into book a space and there aren't any, just click that no slots available button for us, because then what that'll do is that'll put you in a separate bucket, for want of a better term, which will then potentially give you a little bit of a heads up on those future dates, because you've already been invited to one previously. So it's just really important that you click that button for us.
Great, thanks. Next question, please. So Jamie Lewis, what is the shift pattern for a PC for Dorset Police? I'll answer this one to give the others a bit of a break. So if you're coming into response policing, it's 24/7 shifts. You'll work 2 earlies, 2 lates, and 2 nights. So early starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, a range of 8, 9, 10, 11-hour shifts, and then obviously your 2 late shifts and again, finishing time can be anything from 12 o'clock at night to 4 o'clock in the morning, depending on when the late shift falls. So weekend we got high demand, and then night shifts as well. So you do 2 earlies, 2 lates, 2 nights, 4 off, 4 rest days off from that perspective. And then there's other departments, perhaps neighbourhoods, who work a slightly different shift pattern. So neighbourhoods don't predominantly work night shifts, and volume crime team CID as well. However, in certain roles, we'll have people on call throughout areas as well. So sometimes while you might be working, particularly at certain levels, so it's mainly at the sergeant rank, inspector, etc., people on call. So that gives a general overview, but I think if you go on the website, you can have a look at shift patterns on there. It's all on there as well, that information, so feel free to have a look. Next question, please. Matthew Howe, I was interested in joining and particularly would like to be on the rural side, but with the loss of the crime commissioners who really supported rural crime, do you foresee that working with rural crime will be as effective, as I want to work where I believe to be fully supported and a great cause? I think, again, probably one for me to answer around that one. So rural crime in our community is, yes, it's the police and crime commissioners. It's part of his police and crime plan. It doesn't mean with the loss in 2028 of police and crime commissioners, we're going to stop dealing with rural crime. Rural crime is part of our problem. So it's about organised crime. It's about the responding to the crimes that sits in our communities and the concerns. So actually, if you come into Dorset, we're quite lucky. We've got a unique force. That we've got coastal policing, we've got urban policing, and we've got rural policing as well. And even some parts of Bournemouth, Christchurch, and Poole have got some elements of rurality with it as well. So I wouldn't worry about that side in terms of Police and Crime Commissioner. Rural crime is here. We're tackling it, and it's very much here to stay in terms of our priorities of tackling that criminality. And rural crime could be anything from burglaries to plant theft to animal theft to lots of other things as well. So yeah, don't be put off by that. Come and join us, and obviously depending on where you're working, etc., you could find yourself working in a rural community. Next question. Alfie McIver Main, do you do apprenticeship for the mechanic side of things? I think Rachel can cover this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so we do have a number of police staff roles that are advertised on our Force website. Some of those are apprenticeships. We do have an apprenticeship levy, so it will be mentioned within the advert if there's an apprenticeship available. We also do sort of internal processes for those as well. So as far as I'm aware, off the top of my head, we don't have any current mechanic apprenticeships out on the Force website, but do have a look on our Force website and sort of keep your eyes peeled for them, or even pop an email over to my colleagues in the police staff team. Their email will be on the Force website for you to reach out to them and they can advise.
Great, thank you. Next question, please. So Hannah Kestin, hello, I was successful for my online assessments. I've been told I can retake them in 3 months from when I started. So January, how will I know to retake them? Rachel.
We will look after that for you, Hannah. So what happens is when you're unsuccessful at your first attempt, we'll pop you in a group, and then what we'll do is every time we send out invites to an assessment centre, that group gets reviewed to make sure that anyone who was unsuccessful 3 months or more ago gets picked up and re-invited to those new dates. So it might be that it's the 3 month, the next available assessment centre following the 3 months. So it may not be sort of 1st of January that you get contacted. It may be sort of mid-January, depending on when your assessment centre was previously. But we'll reach out to you to make sure you've got the invite for the next attempt.
Great. So it sounds like start getting prepared for it then. It's
Absolutely.
Get prepared and we'll get through that assessment centre. Next question, please. Nikolai Warren, if you apply for one role, can you change to another if you decide a different route would be better for you? Rachel, another one for you.
Thank you. Yes. So what we tend to say is when you're looking at applying and you're looking to go through the process, just really have a look at those entry routes that are available to you and the ones that interest you most, specifically around sort of the qualifications you'll gain once you're in, and the length of that training as well. We can adjust your entry route throughout the selection process within reason. We sort of don't want you hopping backwards and forwards, but if you sort of get halfway through and you find out some information from your application buddy or something similar that changes your mind, we can absolutely do that during the selection process. However, once you're in and you start training, you are expected to complete the route that you start on before you then, as Mark touched on earlier in the call, start looking at specialisms or other areas. So it's just really important to sort of do that research and ask all those questions ahead of starting with us so that we can make sure you're on the right one.
Great, excellent. Thanks. Next question, please. So Leanne McMillan, I've just been given dates for my final interview. What does the final interview day look like, and what sort of things should I revise or prepare for the day? So I'm going to come to you first, Rachel, and then I'll see if anybody else wants to add anything to it as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So your final interview day will be quite jam-packed. We try to do a little bit of a one-stop shop for you, so as I've already mentioned, to stop you sort of coming backwards and forwards. So you'll do a full structured interview, which will be with a panel of interviewers of 2 interviewers. That's both staff and officers. It will last approximately 40 to 45 minutes, and that will be based around the Competencies Values Framework, or CVF, as you know, we love an acronym. So you will have already looked into that for your online assessment centre. So it's just about refreshing your understanding of that. In terms of prep, oh sorry, I'll finish my what the day looks like. You'll also look at doing your fitness test on that day. We'll do a right to work check with you. You'll have some biometric samples taken, so that's DNA, mouth swabs, and also fingerprints, the old-fashioned way with ink. And we will also look to roll through some role expectations with you. So just to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself in for, and we reassure ourselves that you understand the role that you're applying for. And then obviously if you're applying for the detective route, you will also do an investigation exercise within that. In terms of what you can use to prep, so as I've already touched on, the competencies values framework, really important that you have a read of that and understand it. The code of ethics. We do also provide a interview prep as part of your booking information, so that will give you some things to look at. My biggest top tip for people coming for an interview is really have a look at structuring your answers. So there's lots of different mnemonics out there that you can use, one of which is STAR, which is situation, task, action and result. That's my biggest bit of advice. So when you're structuring those responses to those interview questions, make sure you've got a well-rounded answer there.
Great, thanks Rachel. And Clara, just in terms of the positive action team support, what sort of support can you provide on this?
Within positive action, what we can provide is a mentor who will be working with you, for example, for interview prep. So we can look at your answers, see if there's anything that can be improved in terms of the structure or how you are utilizing the STAR model. We also provide mock interviews as well that can be 1, 2, 3, depending on how many you need, just to make sure that when you go to the interview, you feel the most confident self and you can really perform on the day. I would also suggest for Hannah earlier, who failed the assessment, to register for positive action support, because we also work with individuals who may have not passed the previous stage, but would like to reapply. And then we look at the feedback, see what gap may be, and then we start from there. And within the next few months, we can hopefully provide enough support to get you through the stage.
Great. And Clara, if people sat at home thinking, well, how do I know if I'm eligible for positive action? Where do I go to get information? Where would you signpost them?
So positive action is on the recruitment site everywhere. So you can find a link to positive action, either it's on the staff recruitment pages or on the police detective recruitment pages. Currently, we are supporting 3 groups, which would be female for police officer, detective, and special constabulary. We also support anyone who have any kind of diverse ethnic background, and we support individuals with disability, including neurodiversity. When I joined the positive action team 5 years ago, we supported 5 different groups. But in the last 5 years, thankfully, 2 of our support groups have reached the presentation that we deem ideal. But we still have these 3 groups.
Great, excellent. So if anybody's got any information they want on positive action, have a look at the website. It's on there on the recruitment site. Great, next question, please. David Allen, in the application, it mentions prior experience in the military and associated jobs. Does the fire service count in that? So, Rachel.
Yes, it absolutely does. So for our police constable entry programme and detective constable entry programme, we do have quite an extensive list of other roles that are recognised, and the fire service is one of them. Off the top of my head, I think it's 24 months within the fire service. So yeah, do have a look. Hopefully when you tick that you have that experience, it should pop up with a little window that tells you all of those roles, but it is on our force website as well.
Great, thanks. Next question, please. So Mike Belbin, how many attempts do you get? Well done, Dan. We went to school together. I'm proud of you representing our country. So absolutely. And thanks for those nice comments for Dan. Rachel, you want to answer the...
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so for the online assessment centre, you'll get 2 attempts, and it's the same for the force interview as well. So you'll be invited in for your first attempt, and then if you're unsuccessful for the online assessment centre, you'll receive a feedback report from the College of Policing, and then you'll be re-invited after 3 months. And for your final interview, you'll get one-on-one feedback with a member of your panel ahead of your second attempt after 3 months. So it's 2 attempts for both.
Great, thanks. And I think advice, Rachel, is don't wing it. Put the time, put the prep in
Absolutely.
around it. If you're sitting there thinking, "Oh, I'll just give it a bash," actually put a bit of time and effort into it, because actually it's very passable, and we want the life experience that's coming through. So absolutely, do that. So next question, please. Lewis Bell. Hi, I'm asking on behalf of my partner as he's at work until late, and he's gutted he missed this. Well. He's really interested in becoming a detective constable via DSEP route that he found on your website, but when looking for an application, he could only find the PSEP route. Is this because he needs to fill out the submission for the PSEP and then later on the application says it takes DSEP route, or has he just missed the deadline for the detective constable route? And Rachel, definitely one for you.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Liz. And luckily for your partner, I think these are recorded and then put up on YouTube. So hopefully we'll get to watch it back. Yeah, so absolutely hasn't missed the deadline. We are live at the moment for all of our entry routes. As part of the eligibility form, it will ask you about what entry route you're applying for. And at that stage, you can either pick police constable entry program, detective constable entry program, etc., etc. So it is within that eligibility, which is the first form you complete. It may be that they've seen a PSEP specific campaign that we've done previously, and that's what's caused the confusion. But no, definitely open. So please do get them to submit their application. Thank you.
Yeah, if in doubt, just drop us an email. We can help with anything like that. Sometimes a lot of information on the websites, etc. So if in doubt, just drop an email. But see if you can get through that and get him filling that form in. Absolutely. Next question, please. So Winifred, can you please explain the vetting process? So Rachel, is that something you can cover?
Yeah, sure. So our vetting process is unsurprisingly a slightly lengthy one. So what will happen is once you've been successful at the selection process, you'll be sent a conditional offer of appointment. And once you have received that and accepted that, you will receive a link from our vetting team. So we will provide them with your ID. All you need to do is fill in the information on that form. We do ask that you complete that promptly, although please don't rush it. We really need to make sure we've got all that information on there, otherwise it can cause further delays with requesting it later. So you'll be sent a link to an online form to complete out. Once you submit that form back to our vetting team, they have a service level agreement of 5 working weeks to get those checks done for you. So they're national and international checks. They have a look at social media. They sometimes look at your employment references if required. So it's quite a broad check. There's counterterrorism checks and all those sorts of things. So there's lots of checks that they do. I don't get to see any of that. I just get to see a yes or a no in recruitment. But it is, like I said, quite a lengthy process that can sometimes be sped up if you can provide all the information up front and any follow-up queries. But yeah, it is quite a lengthy one, that one.
Great, thank you. Next question, please. Ryan King, do you offer any additional support for the online assessment centre? Partner's Romanian and struggled with the live recordings for scenarios, but would be fine in person. Clara, do you want to come to you first on that?
Yes, absolutely. Within Positive Action, we can support in terms of looking at the different stages, breaking it down, talk extensively about what is going to happen. I myself come from Eastern Europe, so I'm Hungarian, and I do understand that sometimes it can be a lot when you're going through the recruitment process like this. If there are any language barriers, I'm not sure what we can do with that, but if it's just about going in depth of the process and doing different exercises and practices, then we can definitely provide that. Thanks,
Clara. And Rachel, anything that you want to add on that in terms of any barriers?
Yeah, no, nothing in addition, really. There are various numbers of sort of accommodations and adjustments that can be put in place for the online assessment centre. We get a lot of those requests more based off of sort of disabilities, but we would sort of be guided by the Positive Action team. So I would definitely recommend reaching out to the Positive Action team. They have lots of helpful hints and tips that can support you through the process.
Great, thank you. Next question, please. So Connor Cheeseman, what are the stages after passing the online assessment centre? Is there a timeline for the next stages upcoming for me? Rachel, can you help with that?
Yeah, of course. So the stages after the online assessment centre are the final force interview, which I touched on very briefly already. They are being held periodically. So we've got quite a few dates coming up in December, and we'll be booking some in for January as well if you haven't already had them. Once you're successful at the final interview, that's when you'll start your prerequisite check. So we'll give you a conditional offer for a training date, and then we'll start your medical, your references, your vetting checks, and your drugs testing and that sort of thing. And then once you've done those final steps, that's when you get your formal offer. So you're almost halfway. So you're doing really well.
No, great. And I think sometimes it can, towards the end, it can happen really quickly, can't it, as well? I think we get all those checks in and it is really quite swift at that point, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent. Great. Should we go for the next question? So Charlotte Sykes, I've just completed the assessment centre. I was advised it's roughly 4 days to hear back if I was successful, but it's been almost 2 weeks. Do you know roughly how long to find out? Eagerly, obviously, waiting there for that next step. Any time frames that you can help with that, Rachel?
Yeah, of course. So our online assessment centres, apologies if you've been given the incorrect information for that one. So for the online assessment centres, all of your recordings and information that you provide goes off to an assessor, and they are scored over 2 weeks. So you should hear after 2 weeks. The only reason that might be extended is if you have been given a 48-hour extension to complete your online assessment centre. So if for whatever reason, if you've been poorly and or your work's got really busy and you haven't been able to complete it within the 7 days, if you've reached out to us and asked for an extension, that will then potentially push your results on by a week. So that may be the delay. If neither of those apply to you, please do reach out to us, because it may be that we've sent it and it's gone into your spam or something similar. So do reach out to us and we can have a look at that one-on-one for you.
Great, thanks. So normally we finish these events within an hour, but we've got lots and lots of questions. So we're going to carry on for a little bit, maybe for another 10 minutes or so. But if we don't get to your question, don't worry. We will reply through the social media channels, etc., to them to as many as we possibly can, and that means we'll reply to all of them. So Refreya Skelton. Does where you're posted change day to day, week to week, or will you generally be stationed in the same area? I'll answer that one for you. So you're posted, and generally you stay in that posted area. Some people do, by request, move different areas because people move houses or whatever it may be. Through regulations, if we move you stations, we have to give you 90 days notice as well. So we can't just say, today you're working here, tomorrow we're moving you to a different station. We have to follow regulations to do that, which is there to make sure that we protect our officers as well. You can come to duty, let's say you come to Poole today, and that's your centre of duty. We can say, look, actually today, whilst you're on duty time, you're going to have to go and work in Bournemouth to cover. But invariably, we don't just move people around constantly. Of course, if you move roles, then you might move locations. But no, generally, you're in a fixed location where you work. Next question, please. Samantha Woodbury. For the DHEP briefing exercise or in-person interview day, my question is there a preferred format for presenting your scenario briefing during the interview? Example, II March. Rachel.
Thank you. We don't give out specific formats for your presentation. As I've already previously touched on, I would just say make sure that you do have some structure to your responses, and that's just to aid you in giving a really well-rounded response. So if I March works for you, do use that. If the star mnemonic is more preferable, but there is no set guidance on which format to use, and the assessors aren't given one to expect either. So yeah, we will provide you with some information on that, but again, preparation information will be available on the Force website and on the College of Policing website around that as well.
Great, thanks for that, Rachel. There's lots of questions out there as well before we get the next one. People asking about upper age limits, and we've already covered that question off earlier around age limits, but just to reaffirm that there is no upper age limit around it, and all the information's on our website, etc. So actually we have it coming through initial recruits, transferees, ex-military, a range of people from 18, 19 years all the way up, and some people it's a second career for. So absolutely no upper age limit for that. Let's go to the next question, please. Freya again, how does the assessment interview process for detective constable differ from the police constable? Just think, Rachel, do you want to come in on that? Because I could bring in PC Claxton. I'm conscious that you probably have a bit more knowledge in terms of the two systems.
Yeah, of course. So for the selection process, the national SIFT process, the online assessment centre process, exactly the same for both roles. At your force interview day, you will do everything that the response constables do, so that face-to-face force interview, but you will just do the detective investigation exercise in addition. So just to give a very, very brief overview of what that looks like, you'll be given a candidate information pack, and you'll be given 45 minutes prep to review that and make some notes. You will then go into a room with a panel of 2 assessors. You'll be given 10 minutes to give your response to the questions that you've been asked, and then you will have 15 minutes of follow-up questions by those 2 individuals that are a sergeant and a fellow DC. So that's the main difference in the selection process between response and detective.
Great. And PC Claxton, and you've obviously done some of that sort of exercise. Anything you want to add?
Just from a personal perspective, I actually really enjoyed the investigation exercise. I actually found it the most beneficial, and definitely the most enjoyable and stand out for the day from myself. So yeah, it's nothing to worry about. Just follow the briefing and you'll enjoy it.
Great. Thanks very much. Cheers. Next question, please. So Laura Whelan, do you offer any age-appropriate work experience for year 10 children who want to pursue a career in this field? Rachel, do you want to cover that off?
Yes, thank you. So Laura, this is a question we get quite often. We don't necessarily offer work experience in the 2-week window that is recognised in a lot of learning providers at the moment. It is something that the force is exploring to see if it's something that we can look at doing, and obviously just making sure that those young people are protected, and also exposing them to the right level of the force. Although we do have cadets alongside this, so it's something that they can do in their spare time. It's really, really brilliant. We've actually just had a new cadet video that's been created and added to the force website, which is a really, really brilliant insight into what they do and how interesting it can be. So there's a couple of avenues there, but it is something that the force are working on, so do keep an eye out on our force website for any changes in relation to that.
Great. A good shout out there for the cadets, Rachel, I think. And of course, we start to see cadets coming up into joining the regulars as well from that perspective. So definitely cadets there. And we are getting operational officers out to career events and things like that as well, where we can as well through our senior leadership teams. Next question, please. So Connor, excuse me again. I have passed the online assessment already with another force. I've been told I don't need to do it for my Dorset application. What is my next stage, please? Have you got a timeline for each step, Rachel?
Of course. So yes, because the online assessment centre and the national SIFT process are national, that's what it says on the tin, we do accept successful scores from other applications and other forces. So your national SIFT and online assessment centre scores are valid for 2 years, and there will be an opportunity within your application form that says, have you previously applied, were you successful, what stage were you successful at? If you transfer your online assessment centre to us, we will fast track you straight to the force interview. And in terms of timeline, again, it depends on how available you are. We have lots and lots of dates throughout December if you're super keen to get through, or we will have future dates in January as well.
Great, thanks. Next question, please. So Sam Stewart, what's my next stage after passing the online assessments to become a degree apprenticeship policeman? Do I need to book something, or is something that happens for me? It's been 2 weeks since I got the notification and the update that I passed the online assessment, and I'm just waiting. Clearly very keen as well to get things moving. Is there something I should or could be doing, Rachel?
Yeah, absolutely. So you will need to book yourself onto an interview. So because you've been successful at your online assessment centre, you will then be invited to those final force interview days. We have had a piece of work going on over the last couple of weeks where individuals have been called to ask for their preferences in terms of weekday or weekend, morning, afternoon, evening, that sort of thing. It may be that you just in between that window, because you've just passed your online assessment centre. So if you haven't been asked for those preferences, do pop us an email with them. What we'll do is we'll see if we can slot you into a date within December, but it will likely be that we invite you and you need to book yourself a slot that you're available for. But if you do reach out to us, we can arrange a call back for you and just get you penciled into one of those slots if you're having issues with email communications or something similar.
Great. And I think, Rachel, if someone's sat at home and thinking, I'm really frustrated and, I'm not getting answers, or I've got lots of questions and just get a bit frustrated with the process, what's your advice to people?
Please reach out to us. We are more than happy to help you. We want to make this process as smooth as possible for you. So in the first instance, pop us an email. It'll be the DP uniformed recruitment one. It's on our Force website. It's probably the one that we've been badgering you from. But failing that, do give us a call. I've got lots of members within my team that are really, really happy to help, and they just want to support you through this process. So if you're feeling frustrated or if you're feeling like you're not getting a response, please do reach out to us, and we can follow that up for you.
Great. And a shout out to the recruitment teams. They're super busy, working really, really hard behind the scenes and to make sure everything runs smoothly. So I know people can be a little bit frustrated with the process sometimes, and all the checks that have got to happen. So yeah, if you're frustrated, you're sitting there, drop us a line. Let's try and make things happen for you. That's great. Next one, please. So Nikolai Warren, if you're unsuccessful at one stage and reapply, do you need to do every stage again? Rachel, another one for you. Sorry, lots for you.
That's okay. Yeah, so again, it depends what stage you get to. So if you're unsuccessful at the final Force interview, you can use your National SIFT and Online Assessment Centre in future applications. They've got that 2-year validation. If you're unsuccessful at one of those earlier stages, you won't need to redo it. So it is those 2 stages are the only ones that have validity. If you pass your Force interview but are unsuccessful at a prerequisite check, it would depend what you were unsuccessful in. Is there any limit on how soon you can reapply? For example, if you're unsuccessful at vetting, they may put a year or a time frame on when you can reapply, and then that is when you would potentially have to redo some of the elements because of the time that's lapsed. But those first 2 elements have that validity of 2 years.
Great, thank you. And I think we're going to go for the last question before we round up. Next one then, please. So Connor, what is the training like when you finally start? How long is it from start to finish? So if I can come to PC Claxton for this one.
Hi Connor, that's a great question. In essence, it's 6 months at Ferndown, with some days away at Winfrith, and you do attachments to response policing, you do custody visits and everything like that. In answer to your question, I found it brilliant. You start off from knowing nothing, like everyone else on your cohort, little bit of a rabbit in headlights, and then as kind of week 2, week 3 come on, you actually start getting into your groove. And then after that, it's phenomenal. The bonds that you make with everyone, your knowledge of policing, your practical scenarios, your assessments, absolutely everything is structured in such a way that nothing is challenging. And as I said before, I absolutely hate academics and had an absolute fear of like learning the legislation. But there's nothing that's not manageable, and there's a phenomenal tutor team at Ferndown. And I'll give them a shout out now. Hi everyone. But yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. There's support there for everyone, and you'll enjoy it when it starts. And the 6 months fly by.
Thanks very much. I was speaking to some recruits just last week at Ferndown, and they're due out onto the streets in February, and they can't wait. And they're really enjoying it, everything. So they've just gone through their officer safety training, etc., having a great time. But that mixture of excitement and apprehension of going out onto the streets, that's there. But like PC Claxton says, there's a huge amount of support in the teams, etc. And we're a family force, all want to help each other get through and get to where you're going to. And once you've done that 6 months, you're then out onto the streets, you get tutored. Even if you're going through the DHEP route, you get tutored by a tutor constable, so for 12 weeks. And then once you've done that tutoring, you've been signed off there, you then independent patrol when you continue your journey in terms of learning. But then you've got your team, your sergeants, etc., and you get a training development officer as well that supports you through that process. So don't worry if you're stressing about it. Don't worry, it's lots of support there around that. So that's going to wrap up for this evening, folks. Like I say, we'll try and answer all the questions that's there. Obviously, this is recorded, so people can look back at some of the questions if need be, and like I say, we'll reply to as many of the questions as we possibly can. I think just again, pushing out the recruitment sites there. If you've got any doubts on it, got any questions, drop us a line. We're here to support. We've got all the buddies, we've got everybody who wants to help you come and join a great force and deliver for the communities of Dorset. And Dorset is, yes, police is busy. It's a great job. It's a job like no other, but we also live in a great county. So when you downtime, you can recuperate, in some of the most sort of beautiful countryside coastal areas in the UK. So real incentives from that perspective. And if I can just say an absolutely huge thank you to those that have helped me tonight. Obviously, PC Barker, PC Claxton, Rachel, and to Clara, just in terms of answering the questions, really, really appreciated. And if you're sitting there and thinking, I'm not sure, go for it. Policing is a great career, great opportunities. Go for it. You've got nothing to lose, and we'd love to hear from you. So I look forward to seeing as many new recruits as possible when they come into the force. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening, and look after yourselves. Take care. Bye-bye.